I welcome back everyone. Today in this class, let us discuss about the UML class diagram. Okay, UML is nothing but Unified Modeling Language. As we said, the expansion for UML is Unified Modeling Language. It is a standardized general purpose modeling language which is used in the field of object-oriented programming language or object-oriented software engineering. It is nothing but visual language for specifying, constructing and documenting the artifacts of systems. Artifacts means nothing but the shapes which is given by the humans. Okay. And also this UML offers a standard way to write a system's blueprint. Next, let us see some essential elements of UML class diagram. You might have already drawn the UML diagram for any object-oriented programming language, where we may use three boxes. The first box will have the class name, and the second box will have class members, and the third box will have the methods. Okay, that is what the UML class diagram. Here let us see in detail. So the essential elements of UML class diagram are class name, attributes, and then operations. So these three are the essential element which is going to be used in UML class diagram. So this is a diagram where first it is having class name, second one is attributes, the third one is operations. The name of the class is only needed in the graphical representation of the class. Other than that, it is not necessary. It appears in the topmost compartment. As we see in this diagram, the class name is placed in the topmost compartment. A class is the blueprint of an object which can share the same relationships, attributes, operations and semantics. Okay. Already we have seen this point in many languages which are in object-oriented programming. That is, a class is the blueprint of an object. Okay. The class is rendered as a rectangle including its name, attributes and operations in a separate compartments. As we see in this diagram, the class name is including name of the class, attributes, operations. All these three are placed in separate compartments. There are some rules which should be followed while we represent a class name. Okay. First rule is a class name should always start within a capital letter. Whenever we give class name in a UML diagram, the class name should start with a capital letter. Okay. The second rule is class name should always be in the center of the first compartment. The name should be placed in the center of the first compartment. Okay. And then the class name should always be written in bold format. The class name should be in bold format while we compare with attributes and operations. Okay. And the fourth rule is an abstract class name should be written in italics format. In case if there is abstract class which is in the class name, then it should be in the italic format. The first class should be in a normal format. In case if there is any abstract class, that should be given in a italic format. Okay. So these are some of the rules which should be followed while we give the class name. Next compartment is attributes. Attributes are nothing but named property of a class which describes the object being modeled, like a name, address, age. We may use some of the variables, isn't it? So all those things are called attributes, which are the property of a class. In the class diagram, this component is placed just below the name compartment. Okay. After the name of the class, there should be the attributes. As you see in this diagram, all the attributes should be given below the class name. Okay. A derived attribute is computed from other attributes. You might have discussed all these things while you studied the database management system, where you have seen all these things, that is attributes, derived attributes and the relationship between the attributes, everything, isn't it? Derived attribute is nothing but an attribute which is derived from another attribute. Okay. Here you can see, for example, here there is an attribute called age which is derived from the date of birth. Always the age is derived from the date of birth, so that it is called derived attribute. Okay. That is also can be included in the attribute list. Next one, member access modifier. So as we have seen here in this diagram, the name, address, birth date, age, All these are called the data members. It should be given with access modifier. Access modifiers are nothing but it is going to tell where these attributes can be accessed, whether within the class or within the method, or it can be accessed by outside members. Okay, so all these things are going to be decided based on the access modifier, which should be given with the data members. Attributes are generally written along with the visibility factor. The visibility factors are public, private, static, protected and package. You might be familiar on these access modifiers. So public means it can be accessed to anywhere. Private means if the member is within method, it should be used only within the method. In case if the member is within the class, then it should be used only within the class. Likewise, okay. And static, protected and package. So all these are called visibilities or access modifiers. It is denoted here in this diagram by some symbols. Symbols are plus, minus, underscore, hash or tilde symbol respectively. Okay, plus is for public, minus is for private, underscore is for static and hash is for protected, then tilde is for package. Okay. Attributes must have a meaningful name that describes the use of it in a class. In case if you are going to give a name, then the attribute name can be name. Okay. In case if it is student name, then the attribute name can be student name. If it is employee name, then the attribute can be employee name. In case we are going to use the salary, then the attribute name can be salary. As like the attribute name should be meaningful, which should describe the use of it in the class. The example for UML diagram, which includes the class attributes and operations. Here the class name is student, which is on top compartment and the first letter is capital and it is in bold format, and also it is placed at the center of the first compartment. Okay, it is class. Next partition is for the data members, that is variables. Here string name, int register number, these two are given. String is public, so that it is given with a symbol plus. It is private, so that it is proceeded with minus. Okay. And next compartment is for methods, where void get details and void display is given. These two are public, so that the symbol is given as plus. Okay. So this is the example UML diagram with all these compartments. Next, let us see some of the advantages of UML. First one, visual representation. Actually, this UML diagram is visual representation, so that the relationship between classes and entities in a computer program can be visualized. Next advantage is readability and reusability. Since it is in diagram, any programmer can understand it easily, and also it helps to explain the relationships in a program in a straightforward manner. And also a programmer is able to see the redundant code, which are the reused portions of code that already exist, rather than rewrite those functions. Okay. The third advantage is standard. As we said already, this UML is a standard format for object-oriented programming languages. Next advantage is planning tool. This UML helps to plan a program before the programming takes place. Before writing the source code, this UML helps to have some proper plan regarding the programming. And also there are some of the tools which can be used to model the UML. The tool will generate code based on the classes set up in the model. Even some of the tools may generate the code based on the UML setup. So these are some of the advantages of UML. Next, let us see some of the disadvantages of UML. First one, time. So the UML diagrams should be prepared properly, and also it should be synchronized with the software code. So the UML diagrams should be prepared properly, and also it should be synchronized with the software code. Since it should be proper, which requires time to set up and maintain, so that taking much time is considered as one of the disadvantage. And next one is diagrams can get overwhelming. While we create an UML diagram, it may be very large or very great in amount, which can be confusing and frustrating for developers. Okay, that is another disadvantage. Next one, too much emphasis on design. Since the UML diagram should be proper, we have to put more concentration or more importance to the UML diagram, which can be problematic for some developers and companies. And also it requires spending too much time and attention on software features. These are some of the disadvantages of UML. Next, let us see the relationships of UML diagram. There are mainly three kinds of relationships in UML. First one, dependencies. Second one, generalizations. Third one, associations. Okay, let us see one by one. First one, dependency. Dependency means in case if there is the relation between two or more classes, then if we made any change in one class may affect the other class. Since the relation between two or more classes, the changes which is made in one class may affect the other class. That is called the dependency. It indicates that one class depends on another. This is a diagram where the student is dependent on the college. Okay. If any changes which is made in college will affect the student, or if any changes made regarding the student may affect the college. Next relationship is generalization. Generalization helps to connect a subclass to its superclass, where the subclass is inheriting the features from the superclass. This relationship cannot be used to model interface implementations, and also this class diagram allows inheriting from multiple superclasses. For example, we can see this diagram where the college is inheriting the features from student class. Okay. Here the changes made in one class will not affect the other class. Next relationship is association. Association means this kind of relationship represents static relationships between classes A and B. For example, we can say an employee who works for an organization. This is what the association. There should be the association between employee and the organization. Here are some rules for association. Association is mostly verb or a verb phrase or noun phrase. It should be either one of these, and it should be named to indicate the role which is played by the class which is attached at the end of the association path. Okay, if there is a path which is given to the association, then the end of the class should indicate the role which is played by it. Okay, and the reflexive associations is compulsory. Reflexive association is nothing but the association from a class to itself. That is must in this association. You can see the association in this example where student is associated with college for studies. Here the association is studies. Next relationship is multiplicity. A multiplicity is a factor which is associated with an attribute. It specifies that how many instances of attributes are created when a class is initialized. In case if we consider there are 100 students in a college, then the college can have multiple students. If a multiplicity is not specified by default, 1 is considered as a default multiplicity. Next relationship is aggregation. Aggregation is a special type of association. It is also one kind of association that models a whole part relationship between aggregate and its parts. For example, if we consider a college, it is made up of one or more students, isn't it? In an aggregation, the contained classes are never totally dependent on the life cycle of the container. In the sense, even though if there are no students in the class, the classes will remain in the college, isn't it? That is what called aggregation. Okay. Here actually the college is made up of one or more students. Students are going to be in the classroom. Even though if the students are not there, the class may remain in the college. That is what called aggregation. Next relationship is composition. This is also one of the special type of aggregation which denotes strong ownership between two classes when one class is a part of another class. Okay. For example, if a college is composed of classes student, okay, if we take any college, it may be composed of the students which are from different classes. The college may have different students while each student belongs to only one college. A student who is studying in one college cannot study in another college also in the same time, isn't it? So, College is not functioning if all the students are removed. In the previous relationship, we have discussed that if students are not in the class, the classrooms may remain in the college, isn't it? That is what called the previous relationship. But here, if no one students in the college, then why college should be functioned? The college will not function if there is no any students. That is what called composition. Okay. So these are the relationships of UML class diagram. So in this class we have discussed what is UML diagram, how we have to draw the UML diagram, what are the compartments should be given in the UML diagram, all these things. And also we have seen some of the advantages and disadvantages of UML class diagram and also the relationships of the UML class diagram. Okay, I'll meet you next class. Thank you.